All right, law of association, interviewing the guru. This is going to be a very important training. A lot of people would think, what do I need that for? Well, can't anybody just go out and do an interview? Anybody can just go out and do an interview. A lot of people fear doing interviews. They're not comfortable with putting themselves out there and to do an interview. But most importantly, if you're going to do an interview, you need to be able to do it right. And we're going to discuss here in a few moments why you need to be doing an interview right if you're going to do them at all. So why do an interview in the first place? First of all, it's a great credibility builder. And in this industry, you have got to be building your credibility. You have got to be seen as the credible expert in order to be able to get people to buy from you, to trust you, and to like you. So when you start doing your affiliate marketing, when you're setting out these a promotion and stuff for a product or whatever, and you're recommending somebody else's product, they see you as a credible expert to be able to have that trust in you that you actually know what you're talking about, that you might know something about that product that you're recommending to them. Having that credibility is very, very important. An interview will get you the credibility that you're looking for. It helps you become an authority figure, which is it goes right along with the credibility, but you become an authority. You become an authority on the subject that you're doing the interview on. Even if you do not know anything about it, you're still seen as an authority in that niche with that subject, whichever one you would prefer to, because even when it's just you being seen with the expert that you're interviewing, because it's basically like the expert by association. When you associate yourself with the experts, you are going to become the expert yourself. You're going to develop that credibility. You're going to become an authority in your niche. It's a simple form of product creation. Doing an interview is probably one of the easiest ways to create a product online. So basically you could do a set of interviews. You could do one interview. It doesn't matter what you could do. Maybe you did several interviews and then you packaged them differently. Maybe you took an online course on list building, and then you actually interviewed some other experts on list building and added them into the package. It's a great form of product creation. It's a great way to get great content and stuff when you're interviewing these other experts in these certain niches and on different topics. Profitable. It's very, very profitable to do interviews. It's one of the things that it really helps to do is to add value to what you've got out there already. If you have a product already, to add value to it, but just having that information from the expert. People like to know that they're getting information and content from an expert. And when you're interviewing these experts that you see out there, I mean, you're not going to want to go first, just for somebody that's really an unknown to interview them and stuff. You want to go with the known experts out there. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit. But when you do, you're providing some valuable information for your some content stuff for those that are listening to you, those that are following you, and it becomes very, very profitable. Just creating the products that you're doing, it becomes very profitable just by doing interviews. All right, the interview and the package. When it comes to product creation, many people struggle with the process, and it can take up to several weeks or more just to create a simple product for their own online home-based business. A lot of people will start out doing ebooks and home study courses, and it takes a lot of time to do the research, to get your ebooks written, for the formatting, and everything that takes place with that. It takes a lot of time. When all you would have to do is go out there and find 4 or 5 experts and basically set up those interviews, and within an hour time, you've got at least one good interview for that. So it really saves a lot of time that a lot of people really struggle with when it comes to setting up these products. They just run out of time after a while. They need that product done now so that they can get an income coming in. And an interview is one way to get a nice product, a nice package put together to get some income coming in. It's a great way of creating a quality product quickly It's to interview an expert in your niche and then package it up as a product. Creating an interview product is definitely one of the easiest and fastest ways of creating a high-quality product which will benefit you and your online business. Not only does it benefit you, it will benefit your customers and everybody that is following you because you're providing very valuable content, very valuable training to them if you go out and you find the right experts and you do a proper interview. Limited expertise equals limited income. If you are not seen as the expert, you are going to have limited income. People do not buy from people they do not see as an expert in their niche. If you were in the dog training niche and people are looking for dog training and they don't see you as an expert, why would they buy something from you? If you're in the niche of trying to make money online and you really are not seen as an expert in that niche, it's going to be hard for you to sell a product in there. But having that product is going to be one way that is going to help show you as the expert. You being seen with the people that you're interviewing is going to help you be seen as the expert by association. What people really want is credible information based on expertise and experience. That's what they're looking for. And the number one mistake that most newbies make is that they think that they have to be an expert to sell high-end internet products, and that is just not the case. There have been many, many people that have went out and interviewed people and made a lot of money and they never knew anything about the subject that they were even talking about. But the thing of it is that they found the right experts, they knew how to do proper research, and they interviewed these experts and they went out and they created some great products, sold them, and made a lot of money. You do not have to be the expert in the niche for you to do an interview and to sell the products that you're creating. The experts are out there. Ask them the questions and you sell the answers, and that's basically what this is. You're asking a question. Your experts are out there answering the questions. You're not going to sell the questions because that's what people already are asking. They already have the questions. They're looking for the answer. They're looking for that kind of content, and that's what you're going to be selling is the answers in these interviews. All right, you're about to discover how to use other people's skills, reputation, and time to leverage yourself from zero to hero in any niche market. First of all, you have to overcome your fear and the awe of the gurus. A lot of people, they just fear and the gurus are sitting there, they look at these guys or ladies going, man, there's no way I can even compete with them. There's no way that they would interview me, or there's no way that they would let me even interview them. Man, I'm just not even in that class. And so they stop themselves instead of approaching these guys who are usually more than willing to do an interview because it helps them to get their name out there even more. Instead, people will stop themselves just because they're afraid to approach them. They're just so in awe of the guru and the money they make and the lifestyle that they live that they don't see themselves in that same realm. And you need to overcome that right now. You need to stop struggling to get recognition in your market. This is a great way for you to get the recognition that you need. This is a great way for you to become the expert. Stop struggling. Just get out there and do some interviews and stuff, and you're going to find that you're going to basically, like it says up there, go from zero to hero. I don't like the word zero, so basically hero to a bigger hero. But start capitalizing on experts of others, because that's what it's all about. A lot of people just getting started, one of their biggest hold-ups is, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know anything in the niche that I'm trying to get involved in, and I don't understand how I can possibly have a product in that niche and go out and sell it. What you need to do is you need to start capitalizing on the expertise of others, and that is one of the best places to start, because what you're doing is when you're doing these interviews, one of the best things about it is that you're going to be learning as you go yourself. So as you're doing these interviews, you're going to have questions yourself, especially if you don't know anything about the topics you're talking about. And I suggest that if you're going to do an interview, that you do get to know the topic and become familiar with it as much as possible. Don't just go into it not knowing anything at all. Do some research before you do that interview, so at least you're familiar with your topic, because you've got to come across as you are looking and knowing, like you're knowing what you're doing. So start capitalizing the experts of others. Just a few facts to think on. It's easier to work with established leaders or gurus than it is to work against them and try to beat them at their own game. You're sitting here trying to put all these products together to compete against these guys. Why not just build a product on their expertise? Use them in your product. You're setting up a product. What's going to happen when you interview these guys is that all of a sudden they become part of your product. They're going to want to help you get that product out there because it's going to help them be seen even more than they already are. So instead of working against them, trying to take them down, work with them and use them and leverage their expertise in your own products. And, don't just sit there trying to beat them at their own game. It's going to be next to impossible. When people associate you with the other gurus, you are branded as a guru as well, even though you may be a complete newbie or beginner. That's this expert by association. It's no different than when you hang around a bad crowd. If you're known as somebody that's a really good person and you start hanging around a bad crowd, even though you might not be doing anything that the bad crowd is doing, other people are going to start talking and saying, wow, that person used to be a really good person, but they're hanging around with this crowd now, and in their mind, they're going to see you as doing these bad things. And even if you're not doing it, it's because they're associating you with the people that you're hanging around. So if you start hanging around the gurus, the people that you look up to as the experts in your field, you're going to be seen as an expert yourself, even if you don't know anything about what you're talking about, because people are going to see you in that crowd, and that's who they're going to associate you with. Once you have branded yourself as an expert or a guru, people are willing to pay through their noses to do business with you. So once you are seen, once you get yourself out there and you are seen as an expert, you're seen with the experts, so you are associated with them, people start pulling out their credit cards and they start buying. And that's what this is all about, is getting you some results. And there's not a better way that I can think of to do it than just start doing some interviews, especially if you're just getting started. All right, the law of association, or expert by association. To get rich and famous fast, associate yourself with people who are already rich and famous. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't get. They think that they have to, before they can start hanging out with the rich and famous, that they have to become rich and famous themselves. And that's not the case. You need to start aligning yourself with those that you want to become like. Because even once you do, and this is a known fact, and I guarantee you that this is true, if you do not have any money, if you're just plain broke, and you start hanging around the people that do have money, you're going to start living differently whether you have money or not. And you're going to start doing things that are going to start generating you income, and pretty soon you're going to find yourself exactly like those that you're hanging around. And why is that? Well, it's because if you start hanging around those that are the experts, those that have the money, you're going to start learning the same kind of things, because you're going to be hearing from them. You're going to understand what they're doing to get to that place, and you're going to start doing the same thing. So to get rich and famous fast, associate yourself with people who are already rich and famous. If you associate yourself with a guru or someone successful, you're also seen as someone equally successful. And if you're seen with rich and powerful people, you instantly also become rich and powerful. It's a fact of life. Whether you have any money or not, if you're seen with the rich and powerful, you all of a sudden have become rich and powerful yourself in the eyes of everybody that sees you, because that's who you are associated with. Understand the law of association and its power. Napoleon Hill romanced and interviewed the richest people of his decade. Napoleon Hill, he did some mighty powerful interviews. He went out there and he interviewed the rich and the powerful people. Turning himself into an expert almost overnight with his book, Think and Grow Rich. So basically he did these interviews and he turned them into a book. And he became, he was not an expert himself at that time. He became the expert by association just by interviewing these experts that were out there already. Yet Napoleon Hill himself wasn't rich until he published his book. It was only after he published his book did he really become rich, did he really start getting any money. But yet he was seen as an expert because of the interviews that he was doing. doing and those that he was associating with himself. All right, the interview. Why do I need to do an interview? An interview is the golden key to opening doors. Opening doors to JV partners, product creation, getting affiliates on board, just opening doors, period, to your online business. It's amazing at how you can start getting JV partners. Think about finding yourself 5 or 10 JV partners to do an interview with. You pick your topic, you get these guys, all of a sudden you've got 5, 10 guys that you've interviewed. These guys now want you to get that product out. Why? Because you've probably talked about their websites in your interviews. You've talked about them. They're going to be seen, and so they're going to be wanting to help you to get that out there. So all of a sudden, you just made it easier to get them to promote your product launch for you because they're going to help you, and it works that way so beautiful. So one of the things that you're going to do with an interview is open up a lot of doors. And pretty soon you start building these relationships with these guys that you're interviewing. You get to know them because you start researching them. You get to know them through the interview process, through the launch process. And now all of a sudden you've got a lot of guys that you are basically partnering with that you're going to be able to do things in the future, that you're going to have future partners. Maybe they'll in turn be interviewing you one day, or you're going to be doing their launches. They're going to know about you now. You're going to be seen in the limelight. You're going to be on their radar now. And so it really opens up a lot of doors. It's a fast way to create informational products. We've kind of went over this already, but it is a really fast way to create an informational product. You can do an hour interview, and in that hour time, you have a product that you can set up and sell. My recommendation is that you do several interviews, as many as you possibly can in the niche. Make sure that you're just not doing interviews just to do an interview. Have a reason for doing them. But it's a great way to create information products. You can leverage traffic from the experts like we were just talking about. Getting these guys that you do the interviews with to actually send traffic to your website, to send traffic to your product launch when they go. So you can leverage their traffic. And you become an expert by application. You can become an expert by just applying yourself to the very things that you're learning and stuff. So, there's some great benefits to doing an interview. It's also a very, very powerful interactive format. Now, you're not just interacting with the one that you're interviewing. What you have to remember is that there is a third party, and that is going to be the person that is going to be watching the interview or listening to the interview or reading the interview, however you choose to do it. But you're going to be interacting with that person. They're going to be listening to you, and it's a very, very powerful interactive format. All right. This is what we're going to have to do these interviews. First of all, you need to select your topic or your niche. Like I said, don't just do interviews for the fun of it. Select a topic or a niche. Make sure it's targeted. And the guys that you're going to be going after, the experts that you're going to be going after, need to be very targeted in that niche. So if you're doing, let's just for an example, you're going to be doing interviews on list building. You need to go find the experts that are experts on list building. Maybe they're experts on traffic, but they're also an expert on list building. That's great, but they have to know what they're talking about. They have to be very targeted to the niche that you're going into. Find the experts, like we just said, that are very targeted in the niche, not just anybody, but you also want to make sure that these guys know what they're talking about and that they're seen as a credible expert. Research the experts. Once you find them, you need to go out and you need to start researching them. So let's say you find some big names. You haven't contacted them yet. You start researching these guys because this is going to help you when you get to the point where you start contacting them. If you know something about them, they're going to pay attention to you a little bit instead of just going up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'd like to do an interview with you." Great. What on? Well, list building. Well, I'm not really an expert in list building. Oh, you're not? Okay. Well, could you do it anyways? No, they're not going to do nothing. Make sure you research that expert so that you know something about them. Get to know anything that you can find about that expert, and we'll be talking about this in just a little bit. Next, you're going to contact the expert, and we're going to be talking about that. follow up and set up the interview. So make sure that you follow up with these experts to make sure that they're still on board. And then you're going to set up an interview. Make sure that when you set up an interview, it is at a time that works best for the person that you're interviewing. You want to be very respectful in all ways to the person that you're interviewing. Remember, you're the one that's trying to get them. And then you're going to do the interview. So why learn how to do interviews correctly? Why can't you just go out there and just do an interview and get some social content and create a product? The best answer I have to this question is this. Doors will become closed to you if you don't come across as knowing what you're doing. People will be very forgiving to you for a couple times, maybe only once. They're going to look at you and say, okay, you did this interview, you didn't do the greatest job, but good for you. You overcome your fears, whatever, you did this. This is a learning experience. You're going to do better the next time. But if you continue to do bad interviews, I want you to think about something. These guys are being seen in your products. They're going to be associated as being a person that just gave a bad interview, even though maybe you're the one that created this very bad interview by stumbling around and just not doing a very good job of asking your questions and getting the content out. These guys are also going to be seen because it works the same way. They're being associated with the person that just did that bad interview. So now the person that's watching this interview is going to look at both of you as doing a bad interview. After a while, they're going to say, forget it. I'm not going to be seen doing all these bad interviews. You haven't learned. You're not doing this properly. No, I'm not going to do another interview with you. Doors are going to become closed if you don't come across knowing what you're doing. And not only that, word is going to start spreading around, and other people are going to hear, and they're going to see these videos, interviews, and they're just going to say, that's bad. I'm not going to do that. And so when you approach somebody else, they're going to say, no, I've seen what you do. I don't, that's just not going to happen. So make sure that you know how to do interviews correctly. I want you to really understand this number one skill right here, because this number one skill is going to make or break your interview. And that's, you need to learn how to listen. It's not all about you asking a question and them giving an answer. It's all about you asking a question and then you listening to the answer that they're giving you. Because a lot of the times what's going to happen when you start doing these interviews, somebody might sit down and you've got all of these questions all planned out. You figure you've got a good 45-minute hour interview, which is a really good time frame for an interview. And you sit down, you ask them that first question, and this has happened before. And the person that you're interviewing started going down and answering almost all the questions that you had in your mind to ask them. But the thing of it is they did not give the content that you really needed to get out of that. So now you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, I'm getting 10 or 15 minutes here and I don't have anything else to ask. What you need to do is really start listening, because if you stop and listen to what they're saying, you can start formulating new questions from where they're going with their answers. So let's say that, they go through, they answer your question, but they really don't give you the content you want. And you go back and say, that was great. But I'd like to go back here to something that you said here a little bit earlier, and then you formulate a question to go to that, to go back, get that person back on track, back on subject, to give you the content that you're asking, that you're looking for. If you don't get the content out of these people, you're not going to have a good interview. You are responsible for getting the content. A lot of the times you'll find yourself doing an interview with somebody that will give you so much content, you can ask one simple little question, they'll go for an hour and never shut up. And they will basically load that interview up with some awesome, awesome content. When you come across those guys to interview are great. They will just give and give and give, and you don't really got to come up with a lot of questions. But you need to be prepared, because there's going to be a lot of them that sometimes they're not really comfortable doing the interview, so they'll just give you kind of a short, brief question or an answer to your question, and so you don't get the content that you really needed. So you need to learn how to listen, because that's going to make or break your interview. All right, here's what you need to look for when you're looking for an expert. First of all, the first number one trait, they need to have their own products. Don't go out interviewing somebody that doesn't have their own products. If they don't have their own products, chances are is they may not be seen as an expert in their niche. Now, we're not talking about training videos and all that. It can be a book, whatever it is. Make sure that they have their own product. Maybe it's a service that they provide or whatever. Just make sure that they are seen as a credible expert. And usually that happens after you have your own product. They need to have a list. Why do they need to have a list? First of all, that's going to help them be seen as a credible expert to the people on their list. Remember, we said that you're going to be leveraging their list, leveraging the traffic. You want somebody that's got a list so that they can send their list to your product that you're creating on here. You need if they don't have a list, basically you're just getting an interview and they're never going to be able to really send you any traffic. It's not going to be really any good for them to help really promote because they're not going to send you the traffic that you need. So make sure that they have a list. Make sure that they have a good size list if you can. Credibility and our authority figures, basically star power. Look for those that are seen as the stars in the arena. Look for those that really have a lot of credibility and authority figures. If you look at the people that you get emails from, when you get emails from the people that you're on list from, you go down through there and there's certain names that really stand out. And those, when you're going through there, and it's like when you see them, you're like, wow. There's that marketer right there. I got to go make sure that I open up his because he's always got some great stuff. That's what we're talking about. Look for those kind of people. Somebody that's got a lot of credibility and authority already built up and they're already seen as stars out there. Because when you get these people to do the interviews, it's pretty self-explanatory. People are going to want to come and listen to the interview. They're going to want to buy that product to hear what the expert has to say. It's like when you get the President of the United States, whether you like him or not, when he comes into town, a lot of people, unless you just really can't stand the guy, a lot of people, whether they like him or not, will go listen to what that person has to say just because of his star power, of the credibility and being seen as an authority figure. And that's who you're looking for. You need to have somebody that's got proven results. You need to be able to look around, do some research, find out that they're actually making sales. Good place is to go on to ClickBank or whatever, see if they got products on there. Find out if that products are selling. You need to be able to find somebody that's got proven results. Once you get them, maybe they can provide you the results that you're looking for. Most of the time, these people with star power are going to have the proven results. It's going to be pretty easy to find. Where to find the experts to interview? First of all, a good place to start is to Google or search engine strategy. Basically, you just go to the niche that you're in, go to Google, type that niche in there, the keywords that you would be using, and find out who comes up. Start looking at the products that are coming up and find out who owns those products because that's one of the things, remember we just said, is they need to have their own product. So start looking at the websites that come up and finding out who owns those websites. Looking for the blogs that come up. If you find some major blogs that look like they got a lot of really good traffic and a lot of good content, find out who owns them. If you cannot find their contact information, you can go to whois.net, and unless they've got it private, all their stuff set to private, you can go to whois.net and usually you can find out who owns that website. And usually you can find some contact information to get them. So start by very simple basic Google search. That's probably one of the best ways to do a whole lot of things to get answers that you're looking for online, is just simply do a Google search. Go to article directories. Most of the time, these experts are going to have a lot of articles out there. They're using them to drive traffic. They're using them to build their credibility. So go to article directories like ezinearticles.com, goarticles.com. Find out who's publishing these articles. Usually there's at the bottom of the article, you're going to find out who published it, and they're going to be sending you off to a squeeze page usually. If you go to that article directory, you're clicking on these links, and you find out that they got a squeeze page, you're really doing well, because that means that person's list building. Doesn't mean they got a large list, but it means that they're list building. So check out article directories and who's writing the articles, because those are the experts you're looking for. Go to forums, blogs, social networking. Find out who's really out there creating a stir. When you go into the forums, you're going to see the experts are going to be out there. They're building their credibility. They're going to be out there answering questions. They're going to be out there really, putting out a lot of products in these forums and really trying to build up their credibility. They're going to be noticed. You're not going to have a hard time finding them. We can go to blogs, look for the blogs that are out there that are really providing some good content. Social networking, you're going to find, when you go to places like Twitter, this is a great thing to use Twitter for. I am not a huge Twitter fan, but one of the good things that you can use for them is finding experts. People that are on Twitter really think that I think all of them think that they're an expert, but you can really see the ones that are really trying to build a credibility. They're out there all the time. They're trying to help people all the time. The reason that they're doing this is because they want to be seen as the expert. They're getting a good following. These are the people that you want to be looking for. Attend live seminar events. This is probably the number one way to get somebody to say yes to do an interview. Go to a live seminar and contact and just sit down with those that are speaking at these seminars. A lot of the times what happens at these seminars, even if they're not speaking, a lot of the marketers will go to these live seminars. And a lot of them will go to every one of them that they possibly can. Why are they going there? They're going there to network. They're going there to tell the other marketers about, and their JV partners, about their products that they got and what they're doing. They're looking for people to partner with. And one of the things that they're also doing is they're looking for ways to be able to help people to get their name out there more. So it's like, get to know them, network with them, and let them know a little bit about you and what you're doing. And it's a great way, and the best thing about them is you can sit down with a video camera and do a live interview with them face to face right there, which is the number one way to do an interview if you possibly can. If you can attend a live seminar, this is the best way to get somebody to say yes to an interview. One of the reasons is it's really hard to tell somebody no when you're standing there face to face with them. Become an affiliate for their products. You can go to clickbankpay.com, find their products. Become an affiliate for them. When you start making sales for somebody, you start getting noticed on their radar, and it's easier for you to get a yes from somebody when you're noticed on their radar and they start to see that you're doing something for them already. Ask the experts for recommendation. Basically, that's probably one of the best ways to get them beside live seminars is once you get somebody that's agreed to do an interview, you just basically say, is there anybody else, I basically respect you, and is there anybody else that you can recommend to me that is going to be able to provide some really good content for an interview. And a lot of times they'll just start rattling off names, and they'll even give you contact information a lot of the time. So really make sure that you're talking to the experts that you're doing and ask them for recommendations. When you find a potential expert, do a search on Google and see what comes up. Look for their credibility. So once you find a name, do a search and find out what comes up, and you're looking for their credibility. Pay attention to publications and any other media you may keep track of in your market niche. Specifically, those who get quoted when articles or blog posts are written about your niche. And you're going to know these people. A lot of times you'll get emails out there, and you'll see a lot of marketers they'll start quoting other marketers, or they'll be talking about another marketer. And so that's a good way to get other names. A lot of times you go to a blog and you'll see quotes from other marketers and stuff that are seen out there. And the reason that they're using these quotes is they're using it basically kind of almost on the same way that you're doing this interview, is because now they're being associated as, hey, I know that guy. I know that guy that said this quote. He's somebody famous, and see, I know him. I'm using his quote here. And so basically that's a great way to do it. Look for those that are being quoted when articles or blog posts. These are already recognized market authorities. They're excellent to approach for an interview. Use social media tools to spread the word that you seek in experts such as Twitter or Facebook. Basically, go on Twitter and Facebook and say, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking for experts in this particular niche on this particular topic. Is there anybody out there that could recommend me an expert, or are there any experts out there that I could contact, that it would be okay for me to contact you to let you know what I'm doing and to possibly do a possible interview? So use the social media that's out there. Get it word out there what you're looking for. Google search, simple Google search on your topic and see which names keep coming up. Blog search, find experts who have blogs on the topics, contact them. Published articles, look at online resources such as easingarticles.com. ClickBank Marketplace, look at the top selling information products in your niche market, find out who the product owners are. Go to Amazon, check out the authors of top selling books in your niche, especially of new books, as authors will be keen to promote them and will be used to they're going to be used to giving interviews. So go out there and just go to Amazon and look for the books that are in your niche, because these are going to be seen as experts. Having your own book, especially if it's an offline book, a hard copy type book, really adds to a person's credibility. So look for these authors that have books out there already and get them to do to do an interview with you. A lot of the times you're going to find out that they're already experienced. They've already done several interviews. Press releases. You can go to prweb.com. It's one of the best places that you can go. You got a ready-made list of people who actively want publicity. What is a press release? Basically, a press release is you're putting out an ad, basically saying, hey, I want publicity. Look at me. Here's what I got going on. People that put out press releases are looking for publicity. Contact them as the experts that you want to interview. Research that potential expert that you want to interview. You need to do your homework. Don't go to somebody when you don't know the first thing about them. Don't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, let's do an interview without knowing anything about them. Because a lot of the times what you're going to find out is that person's going to test you to find out if you even know anything about them in the first place. They're going to check to see if you've actually done your homework, if you've done the research. The person you approach to do an interview with wants to know you've done a little homework. They want to know at least you cared enough to get to know something about the person that you're approaching right now. They want to see that you're really serious about what you're doing. So do your research on the people you want to do interviews with. It's absolutely critical. I've had some people that have done interviews, and it took them, they had certain people that they really wanted to do an interview with. They kept getting a no until they found out a really cool fact about this one person in particular. They kept getting the no, and they really wanted to do this interview with this person because this person was probably one of the most credible experts on that topic and niche. They really wanted this person bad. And this person was a wrestler. And they kept getting this no, and as they were doing the research, they learned that they were a wrestler. So they wrote this person an email, and they based this email, and all the wording in there was all evolving around wrestling and stuff. And what happened was this person was like, wow, this person knows I'm interested in wrestling, and they're passionate about it. And so they just kept reading on just because they were interested, just because of the terminology and things made them read it, and they turned right around with a simple, hey, let's do this thing, set it up, let's do this. Why? Because they did the research, they learned something about it, and they turned that no into a yes. Go to Google search for experts' bios. Just do a Google search for the expert's name and just put biography or bio in there and just do a research for it. A lot of time you'll get their biography of the person that you want to that you're looking for. Research the expert's products. Find out their products. Know their products. So when you approach them, you can say, hey, I know that you've got these products, so I know that you're an expert in this niche. Maybe you've even bought their products, and to get to know a little bit about their products. So you can say, that was a great product that you had. I really appreciate the help and the advice and stuff that I got from that. Look for social media profiles. That's one of the good things about social media, is that you have to create a profile. And a lot of these people will put their birth dates, their ages, everything, their family members' names on there, their anniversary dates, all of these kind of cool things. Think about this for a second. If you get somebody's birth date, for example, that you found on a social media profile, and you seen that it was coming up pretty close to the time that you want to do this interview. So what about just, you do a little bit more work, find out their address or whatever, and you go to the store, buy a card, and you send them a birthday card, maybe even a box of chocolate or whatever, find out some of their likes or whatever. You send something to them and just basically saying, hey, just thought I'd drop you something to say happy birthday to you. Well, then you start building a relationship, and they're going to remember those kind of things. So when you approach them to do the interviews, it's going to be a little bit easier to get that yes. Check experts' blogs. Make sure that you check their blogs out. Find out what they're writing about. Make sure that you know what their blogs are about. Check sales pages. Also, the reason to check a sales page is because a lot of people have hard times getting questions to ask. What a sales page does, it gives a lot of benefits of products. You can turn those benefits into questions very, very easily. They'll have things like discover the number one list building technique. Well, that's great. Nobody knows what that is unless you buy the product. Well, what if you take that discover this number one list building technique and you turn it into a question when you're doing an interview? It's like, hey, Mr. Expert, I noticed that on one of your sales pages that you listed on there that that we could discover the number one technique for list building. Well, one of the things that I would like to know is, would you share with us that number one technique and how you would go about that, maybe as a beginner of getting started using that technique? Well, right there and then, they're going to start revealing, what you want to know on list building. And not only that, they're going to start doing it for, maybe if you're trying to teach beginners, they're going to start taking it down to a beginner level. So it's the way that you word these things. But sales pages, they've got a lot of promises on there, a lot of hype, that you can take these things and turn them into questions. Sign up for free products. If you find their squeeze pages, sign up for their products and get on their list so that you can start knowing a little bit about these people. Read their books. If they have a book, read it. If they have a CD out, get their CDs and listen to them. Get to know them. Do your research. All right, here's the approach. Make sure you're approaching the right experts, first of all, with the right target market that matches your message and your offer. I don't know how many times I've seen people walk up to an expert to do an interview and say, hey, I'd like to do an interview with you. Oh yeah, what on? Well, this is what I would like to do it on. And they're like, well, that's really not me, and I don't think I could really add a lot to your... I think, well, that's okay. I would just like to I'd still like to get that in case that I use it sometime. No, that's craziness. You're not going to get a yes. There's no sense in you even getting something that you might or may not use. So make sure you're approaching the right experts, the ones that have the credibility, and that they're in the right target market. They have to match the message and your offer. When the experts ask you why you want to do an interview with him or her, make sure you have a good reason. Not just say, because I want an interview with you. Give details on the subject and focus of the interview. Give as many details as you possibly can. If possible, where, when, and how will the interview be conducted? Do you want to do a live interview? Do you want to do just an email interview where you email them questions, they email back their answers? Do you want to do a phone interview? How do you want to do it? When are you looking to do it? Is it right away? Is it a month from now? Do they have time to prepare for it? Where do you want to do it? Are you going to be at a live event that you'd like to sit down with them? Just pick up the phone line. Make sure that you know as many details that you can give them, because they're going to be asking you these questions. Once again, show how it will benefit everyone involved. Not only how it's going to benefit you and the expert, but also the audience. Because remember that a big part of the audience, if you're doing this right, is going to be the experts list. That's going to be a big part of the audience. So they're going to want to know, how is this going to benefit my list for me to do an interview? How's it going to benefit me? They don't care how it's going to benefit you. They already know how it's going to benefit you. They understand you're creating a product that you're probably going to monetize it somewhere. They want to know how they're going to benefit and how the audience is going to benefit. Treat them with respect all the way around, and you're going to get a far better and more interesting result when you treat them with respect. If you're in awe of somebody, approach that person in that awe. Just respect them and really treat them like you're after that interview that you feel there's somebody important, that you feel there's somebody that's worthy of doing this interview. When you do that, you're going to start getting some really good responses, and it's going to be a whole lot more and better interesting results. You need them. They do not need you. Not at all do they need you. Most of these guys and ladies already have a business set up that is doing very well. They don't need to do an interview with you. They've already built their credibility. You're the one that needs them. So build a relationship before the approach. I want to show you the wrong approach now. This is a cold email with generic canned request. I don't know how many marketers I know, including myself, have seen this very thing. Matter of fact, this is pretty much a copy and paste that I got one time in my email that is going to show you the very wrong approach. Hey, this is so-and-so, and I'm interviewing some of the top experts in your field for a product that I'm creating called How to Succeed at Making Money Online as a Beginner. How original. Since you're so successful, I would really love to include an interview of you in my product. I am really confident that this product is going to be a huge hit, so you'll get a ton of free exposure from doing this interview. Please let me know as soon as possible if you can do this interview with me. Thank you. Sign the name. This was, I'm telling you, this was a copy and paste interview, except for it had the name of the person that actually sent this. They were doing an interview on how to succeed at making money online as a beginner. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's original. I pretty much did that. Since I'm so successful, well, I would think that they would probably, to know that they've done some research, but if they did, just by what they're doing here and the rest of it really didn't tell me in my mind that they probably did much of anything, but they really would like to include an interview of me in their product. Well, great. I might want that there and I might not. I'm confident that this product is going to be a huge hit. How do they know it's going to be a huge hit? They're probably just starting. They probably haven't ever done this before. They're counting on me to promote that for them. So how do they know that it's going to be a huge hit? What kind of numbers can they tell me? How can they guarantee me it's going to be a huge hit? They didn't even tell me how they know this, but they're just confident. And the reason they're confident is because they're trusting I'm going to send it out to my list. So you're going to get a ton of free exposure. Well, I've already got free exposure a lot of places, but how am I going to do that? By sending it out to my own list? Well, that's not going to do it. I'm already exposed to my list. How are you going to get me more free exposure? Do you have other JV partners that you got involved with this? That letter doesn't tell me really much, except for I'm interviewing some of the top experts. Maybe I'm the first one and you're having troubles getting other ones. So please let me know as soon as possible if you can do this interview with me. This email right here, this is what's going to happen. That's what happens almost 9 times out of 10. Very seldom is this email even going to get an answer. You're never going to hear a thing from that expert that you just contacted. You just went through all the heartache of contacting them, finding them, and you sent them this, and basically they deleted it and slammed the door in your face. Here's a better approach. Sincere email to your potential interviewee that simply thanks them for what they do. Do not be vague. Make sure you are very specific. We're not even going to ask them to do an interview yet. Watch what this email says. Hello, expert. This is so-and-so, and I'm on your list. Oh, that's cool. I like that. And I bought many products from you. Well, that's even better. And the thing of it is you're not just telling them that you bought products from them. You start naming the products. So right away, even if you never bought a product from them, they're going, well, at least he's researching to know what products that I have. I would like to take this time to personally thank you for what you are doing and for the help you have provided me through your products. Tell them how they've helped you. Tell them how your products have helped you. Be specific on these things. Tell them what you like most about the product is the fact that and tell them in detail what you liked about it. What is this doing? It's building this person's ego. They're sitting there going, wow, this person's on my list. Look, I'm helping this person. Yeah, I'm cool. This person's really, man, they're in awe of me. You're sitting there building their ego up. Marketers love to have their ego built up. And one thing you're not doing here is you're not asking a thing from them yet. You're just thanking them for being so awesome. And, you know, what happens here is at least they're going to remember that name for the next time that you start. And also, you have started to build a relationship because you got them to read it and you've got them to see your name, and basically what's going to happen is you're going to get a reply back. It might only be an email that says, hey, thanks, I really appreciate that. That might be all where you're going, so that's it, that's all I get back. But I'm telling you what, the relationship has begun. All right, now I'm going to cover 3 different types of interviews that you're going to be able to start with. First of all, it's a written interview. Basically, email questions to the expert, they reply with an answer back in an email. So basically, it's all written. The drawback to this is that you lose the dynamic of an actual conversation. The person that is the audience has to read this. They don't hear the voice interaction between you and the one that you're interviewing. So they can't hear the excitement in your voices, things like that. So you lose the dynamic of the actual conversation, and you lose the possibility of the follow-up to the questions you get back. Now, it's possible to do this. You can look at the answers that you get back, and then you can say, hey, I would like to add a follow-up question if possible to one of the answers that you gave here and stuff. I'd like to kind of go into that a little bit more if possible. And a lot of times they might say, well, I'm kind of busy right now. I already gave you the answers. You got what you came for. Good luck. So you lose a lot of times the possibility of follow-up that you would have if you're doing it live or on the phone there. The next one is a recorded audio. This is the next best way if you can't get a live face-to-face interview on camera. You still have the audio and can add visuals to it later, such as pictures of yourself and the person being interviewed, graphs and charts, etc. And one of the easy ways to do this, let's say you got the audio. You could just create a PowerPoint. Maybe it's just for branding purposes, where throughout the whole recording, the interview, they're looking at the same screen. It's just something that's going to have maybe a picture of you and a picture of the person that you interviewed on the screen, and maybe a title of that, of your interview or something on that. Basically, it's just for branding purposes. Maybe as you're going through it, you could actually do a PowerPoint where maybe they're talking about a different maybe a step-by-step process that they go through. You could kind of at that point switch it and edit it into your recording of basically showing that step-by-step process, maybe on a flow chart or something like that. So you can add visuals. So this is probably the next best way. Plus you can strip out, you've got the audio, you can strip that out and just use the text. You can have it transcribed, and so then you're going to have the text and the audio version of it as well. Some recording devices that you can use. You can do highDefConferencing.com. This is a little bit more expensive. You can do TalkShoe. These are some things that you can go out and kind of check out. You can do Skype. One thing about Skype is that you can actually, if you do a screen capture type thing, you can actually get your, both of your people on the interviews and from their Skype cameras. So you can do freeconferencing.com. InstantTeleseminar.com is another really good one. That's like $67 a month, something like that. But you can get other people online to do a live interview if you would like. Some other things that you might consider to do get recordings would be like Blog Talk Radio would be another really good one to be able to go out and do an interview with people. Basically what you're looking for is just recording. Learn to recognize different tones in the interview's voice, such as excitement. That's one of the things that is good about the audio, is that if you learn to recognize the different tones in the interview's voice, you're going to be able to feed off of that, and you're going to be able to really help add value to your interview that you're doing. When you hit on a topic that person that you're interviewing is really excited about, you're going to hear it in their voice. All of a sudden they're going to, maybe their voice you're going to be able to just hear that excitement in there, and you're going to be like, aha, I'm on to something here. I've hit a nerve here or something, that they're really not comfortable with, or I've hit something where they're really excited about this. Maybe I better explore this because I'm probably going to get some good content now. So really be able to tell that the tones of the interviews, the interviewee's voice that you're interviewing, to be able to kind of go off of that. A lot of the thing, even one of the things you might want to do, because the people you're that are listening to this are going to be able to tell us as well. So you can kind of highlight that. It's like wow, as I listen to you talk about that, and give me the answer to that last question, I really notice the excitement in your voice, and it just starts adding, and it gets other people that are listening to you to start paying attention. They're like, oh, I wasn't really paying attention, but man, I better, pay attention here because they're talking about somebody getting excited here. So, it's a way to start interacting with your audience, and a lot of the times what you do is that person will quickly follow up. It's like, oh man, you don't know, when we get on this subject, I just, I have a hard time just shutting up about it and stuff, and they'll just start going on and on and on when they had stopped one time. So learn to recognize different tones. All right, here's the best way to do an interview, and it's face-to-face. One of the best things that you can do is go to a live event, sit down face-to-face on camera with the person that you're interviewing. You get the best interaction, and one of the things that you can do when you have a face-to-face video, you have the video all on camera. You can strip it out and just use the audio if you would like to use with MP3. Also, you can have the audio put into text so you can have it transcribed. So you can have 3 different ways of learning. You've got 3 different ways to add value into your product if you have a face-to-face interview. Your viewers will be able to connect to you, and you can do a better job of drawing them into the interview with you to make them feel they are part of the interview if you're doing a good job. If you're just sitting there looking at the person all sober, you're all monotone and everything else, that's not going to be a great thing. You got to learn to be excited. You need to be able to connect with that viewer on the cameras. Not only are you doing the interview with a person that's sitting next to you, but you got to remember there's a person watching you that you have to connect with. And when you're making eye contact with the camera, it's just like making eye contact with the person watching it. So basically what you're doing an interview with is the camera and the person that you're interviewing and stuff with. And you need to learn how to work both of those. Remember to analyze body language during the interview. When somebody gets excited about something, you can tell it in their body language as well as in their voice. When they start getting stressed about something and they're really not comfortable with where you're going with things and stuff, they might start squirming around and tensing up a little bit and stuff. So remember to learn not only to listen to the voice patterns and fluctuations and voice tones, but learn how to analyze body language. This is a great way, and especially when you're doing face-to-face, it's just a great interaction tool. All right, preparing for the interview. When you have lined up the experts to interview, you should prepare a list of about 10 questions you want to ask. And remember that this is not going to be set in stone. Some interviewees may like to see this list in advance, but the idea is to keep it as friendly conversation but structured. So you just want it to flow nice and smoothly. Start out with about 10 questions. You might want to send them to the questions. You can ask them, would you like to see the questions in advance? A lot of times they'll say yes, or if they're really comfortable to say, oh, I don't really care to see them. Let's just rock with this thing. To get questions, you have to find out what people in your niche want to know. So basically what you can do is you're going into the forums and things like that, or checking comments and blogs. A lot of times you're going to notice people asking questions. What a great place for you to get questions, because these are the problems people want to know the answers to. So you can use those as questions, and as you're to be able to ask to the person that you're interviewing. If you don't know the questions, you need to research. And we're going to go into how to do that. Where to find the questions to ask. You've got to be able to find questions. You can go to forums like we were just talking about. Look for people that are asking questions. You can even ask people, what kind of questions? I'm going to do an interview on a certain topic. What kind of questions would you like to know? If you have a list, send out a survey to your list. If you've got, you can, on your blogs, do a blog topic or whatever, and at the end say, hey, I'd like to hear your comments. Leave a comment on what kind of questions you would like me to ask this person that I'm going to interview. You can ask your list. Brainstorm with others. Get together with other experts. Get together with other people. Say, hey, if you were me, what kind of questions would you ask? Maybe it's other beginners. What kind of questions would you like to ask? Yahoo Answers. You can go to places like yahooanswers.com and look for the niches that you're in, the topics, and find out what kind of questions people are asking already. You can go to Twitter. A lot of people will ask the experts questions on Twitter. Facebook, the same thing. And the thing about these is you can say, I'm doing an interview. got 140 characters. Pretty easy to say, hey, I'm doing an interview with so-and-so. Is there anybody that's got any questions they would like me to ask this person? Because I'm looking to have the best questions for this person. Sales pages, look for claims, bullet points. We talked about that earlier. This is a great place you can go and get all of these bullet points you can turn into a question, and you turn it around basically on your expert and say, hey, you made this claim on your sales page. I want to talk about that for a minute and make them describe it and give you answers. Interviews are not just a list of questions. To be a good interviewer, you need to know that the interview itself is not just about the guest that is being interviewed, and it's certainly not all about you. Most important, know that there is a third element to all interviews that is much more important than the two people carrying on the conversation. Basically, that important third element. It is important to remember that there's a third party involved in the interview, the audience. We talked about this once already. I can't stress this enough. This is not just between you and the person you're interviewing. It's great to get that interview, but if nobody else sees it, what was the sense of having an interview in the first place? You want to make sure that you've got an audience to hear it afterwards, and you need to be able to connect to that audience. You need to be able to relate to them and let them know, things like what kind of questions that you ask and what the kind of benefits are going to get out of this interview when you're trying to promote it. So all around, you need to remember the audience that is going to be listening to the interview. Make them feel a part of the interview. Having eye contact with that camera or with them is very important. It's one of the best ways you can do it is like, hey, I would like you to tell my viewers, my listeners here today, let's say you're using Blog Talk Radio or something, and you got the expert on there. It's like, instead of just saying, hey, could you answer this? It's like, my viewers are very interested in this topic, and I'd like to get some answers for them today. Right away, you're saying, all right, this guy's going out and getting answers just for me. I'm sitting here listening to him, and he's going to get the answers that I'm looking for. Make them feel a part of the interview. Build a relationship not just with the person you're interviewing, but with your audience as well. Eye contact with the camera. Let them know that you know that they're there. Build a relationship with them. Make them feel like you're getting the information to benefit them as well as you. They don't care if it's benefiting you. What they're looking for is answers to their problems, and you want to make them feel like you went out there, did this interview just for them. All right, there's questions that we have to ask, and there's going to be 4 types of questions that you're going to want to be asking. One of them is a shake-in. It's basically a question that is completely unexpected. Where you ask that question, maybe your audience is like, wow, I can't even believe they just asked that question. It's like, wow, man, that took guts to ask that. Or the person that you're interviewing is going, I don't believe you I never would have expected you to ask me that. And it's like, okay, there maybe, be very careful with these type of questions, because you might be treading into some waters that person really does not care. That's going to be very upsetting. And I've seen times where you've asked these kind of questions and they've said, I'm not going there, and this interview is over. And, you've just lost. So be very careful when you're asking these shaken questions that's really going to these usually really stir up some emotions and stuff. But a lot of times it's just as simple as, it's like, man, I would have never expected you to even ask me that. That's a good question. Stirred is emotional or moving. A lot of times you'll see a news reporter doing this, especially when, there's a death or something, and they're up there asking this person like, hey, how do you feel about having so-and-so, was just killed in this or just murdered on the streets or whatever. And, and that person sitting there, they're seeing their emotion. It really plays on the emotion. It becomes moving, when that person is interviewing that, it not only to the person there, but you're watching this and you're drawn in, your emotions start getting aroused, and it just becomes very moving. That is a stirred one, where it starts stirring up the emotions that within you and even the person that you're interviewing. Gently tossed. These are easy questions, maybe something new for the audience. It's basically something that probably was expected, but it also might be something new for the audience, so that you're getting some information. But the person that you interview probably expected you. It's a pretty easy question for them to answer. And then the last one is going to be over easy. This was completely expected. The people watching you, they were waiting for you to ask this question. The person that you're interviewing knew you were going to ask them. It was completely expected of you, easy to answer, and So basically those are the 4 types of questions that you're going to be concentrating on in your interview. And again, be careful with the shaken one. Be careful with the stirred ones when you start getting into the emotions, and because if you start getting into places where you really should not be going, a lot of times you can lose it, and a lot of times your audience as well will go. I've done it myself, and I'm sure you've done it, where you've seen somebody do an interview and they ask a question and you're like, I cannot even believe that you went there. That is the most stupidest thing that you could have done. Can't you see that person's hurting? Can't you just stop asking those stupid questions to that person and stuff? So be very careful, because your audience as well is going to start critiquing you if you start getting into where you're really drawing some emotion from somebody, and they start feeling bad for that person that you're interviewing and stuff. All of a sudden they don't care about the questions. They're starting to care about that person's feelings and wanting you to stop that interview and stuff. So be careful with those kind of things. Closed questions. Closed questions require short answers with one word or phrases like yes and no. It's easy to make statistic conclusions from closed questions. So basically, it's just basically going to require a 1 or 2 word answer. These are ones you really do not want to do a whole lot of. Basically, it would be like me saying, are you a Democrat or Republican? Well, what kind of answer are you going to give me? If you're a Democrat, you're going to say, I'm a Democrat. If you're a Republican, you're going to say, I'm a Republican. If you're neither one, you're going to say, well, I'm neither one, or I'm a liberal, or whatever. You're not going to get much information out of that. It's like, okay, great, they're a Democrat. Well, why are they a Democrat? Why are they a Republican? So don't use the closed question. I mean, there's going to be times for that, but when you're really looking for content, it's not going to come from these kind of closed questions. Open question. These questions require more information from the interview. That means that the answer contains more than 1 or 2 word responses. Let's say for you wanted to find out if somebody was a Democrat or a Republican. It's like you might say, are you a Democrat or a Republican? And could you tell me, why do you consider yourself a Democrat or a Republican, whichever one you consider? Or why do you consider if they came back, well, I'm not either one, I'm a liberal. Well, why do you consider yourself a liberal? This is going to require them to really give you more of an answer. You're going to get more content. It's going to start getting a little bit more interesting. It's going to start maybe causing a little bit of debate back and forth between you and the person that you're interviewing. It's going to start, a lot of times it'll take on a whole new life, and you're going to get a lot more than what you ever even expected. This is an open-ended question where it really leaves a lot of room to get a lot of good content. All right, here's a question, and this is a wrong way to ask a question. Now, a lot of people would think that this is a pretty good question to ask. You could go up to a person and say, how can I build my list of subscribers? In all reality, this is a closed question because you're probably going to get more than 1 or 2 words, like a yes or no. You're probably going to get, well, you could build up a squeeze page. You could set up a squeeze page and drive traffic to it. Great. That's a great way to build a list, but how do you go about doing that? Your interviewer is just basically just giving you very little of nothing, and it's probably somebody that probably an answer that other people already knew. Probably the people listening to you, I already know that, but what I want to do is, what I want to know is, how do you build that squeeze page? How do you get traffic to that squeeze page? Not just get traffic, how do you get traffic? What are free methods of it? Whatever. So word it a little bit differently. A correct way would be, if you lost everything you have, including your list of subscribers, or you were a beginner that was just starting out and you only had 30 days to build a list of 1,000 subscribers, could you tell me exactly how you would go about it? So here you're putting some real thought into the question that you're asking here. Basically, you're promoting this question now toward maybe beginners, but you're saying, if you lost everything, you don't have anything, you're not this big guru out there, whatever, you had to start over and stuff, and you wanted to be able to get results right now, quick results. How would you go about doing that? You're going to have your audience's attention because this is kind of stuff that they're looking for. They're like, yeah, okay, here we go. I would love to have a list of 1,000 subscribers in 30 days. I would love to be able to just get some results. So they're going to be sitting there listening for this answer now because you're asking them, tell me exactly how you would go about doing that. Well, I would first of all set up a squeeze page, and then I would drive traffic to that. And to do that, I would do this. And the traffic methods that I would use that would allow me to get enough traffic to get this amount of subscribers in 30 days would be this. And they're going to start going into detail. So you're going to get a lot of good content from this. Keep order and transfer power. Don't interrupt when the person that you're interviewing, unless they are so far off topic and just way out of line, do not interrupt them. The moment that you interrupt them, they lose their train of thought, and they feel that you just got the information that you wanted, and they could have been on the verge of sharing something really exciting that you just stopped them from sharing, and you might not ever get back to that point. Don't jump back into position of power too soon if you find yourself with dead air. The person being interviewed will feel compelled to give more information a lot of the times and may go further than they intended to with their answer. Basically, a lot of people are afraid that, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here 5 seconds, my mind is drawing a blank. Are they done? I'm not quite sure, but my audience is listening to the silence. Who cares? If it gets out of hand where you start getting 20, 30 seconds of silence and stuff, you better take over here. But with just a few seconds of silence, a lot of times the person in your interview is going, wow, is he expecting more? Let me think on this a second. Is there anything else I can add? And they'll say, oh, I forgot to add something and stuff. I'd like to add something quick. So a lot of times you'll end up getting more content and stuff than they planned on giving you if you just allow that little bit of dead space. But make sure that you don't interrupt them unless they're way out of hand. All right, product creation. Use JV partners for your interviews. If you have no content, an interview is going to give you content. If you have no knowledge, an interview is going to give you knowledge. It's going to be, you're getting the knowledge yourself that you can learn from. If you have no authority, it's going to transfer the authority to you. If you're not an expert, you're going to become the expert by association just by doing the interview. There's so many benefits of doing an interview. All right, really quickly here as we come to the end of this, I want to share with you some money-making ideas with the interviews that you can really use to, once you get these interviews, to really start making some money with. First of all, and this probably isn't the best one because it's going to be pretty much branded. But if you have an audience that don't care about the branding or anything else, and you've seen this done time and time again, you can offer licenses to your series. And I'm talking about private label write-off license, where you basically offer your list or those people that are buying the product, you're offering them private label rights for them to own the interviews themselves. They don't have to go out and do the interviews. You've done the work for them. They own the interview to use in their own products. Maybe you sell resale rights to this product, where you set up the product and you get affiliates, or you sell resale rights for that person to be able to sell the product with you, where they can put their name on it with you. Once again, you're saving them the time from doing the resale. You put the questions together, you've done the interview, you've created the product, it's all uploaded, the sales page, everything's done. You're allowing that person, and you're selling them the rights to sell this product as it's theirs along with you. Money maker, developing an ongoing series. Use the same expert on a new, different topic, where you go out and basically, once you started making money with the first set of things, you go out and you do some more. Maybe you've got a membership site where you want to drip feed some more content, and so you go out and create more interviews. You can use the same expert on new, different topics if you want. So maybe that same expert also is an expert in traffic generation and not just list building. So you can use that same expert for a different topic. Find new experts on completely different topics. So instead of using the same expert, go out and find brand new experts for different topics. Find new experts on the same topic. So maybe you want to do more on list building if that's the topic you're on. But you want to find brand new experts. But you want to develop an ongoing series that maybe you can use as a membership, or just create an upsell or a whole new product. Another money maker, promote other products in the interview. This is a great back-end strategy. Basically, you can promote affiliate products, So maybe you're doing an interview and the expert has a product that is completely in line. Maybe let's stick with the list building for a second. If you're doing an interview on list building and that chances are that the expert has a product on list building, you can get an affiliate link to that, and in the middle of your interview you can basically say, I know you've got this product that's on list building. Could you tell me just a little bit about it and tell my viewers where they can go to find this product and get a hold of them, because it's a real valuable product. Maybe you've seen it yourself. And what they do is they'll start talking about this, they'll pique the interest of your viewers, and then when they send them to get the interview, they're sending them through your affiliate link. So in that interview, now you've got it. Every time somebody shows up, that product recommendation is going to be in there. And what a better recommendation than the product owner themselves. You can put your own products where it's like, I've also got a product, on this very topic and stuff. And I'd like, you can send your viewers to that as well. Related products with reseller PLR rights. So maybe there's other products like, I would like to also let you know that there's some also great products out there that you can get reseller rights, PLR rights to, that are right in line with what you're listening to right now, and you can send them to those. So there's a lot of great ways to make money with an interview. Another money maker, break series apart, use as lead generators and back ends. So let's say you've done 10 interviews. You can take one of those interviews and use it as a lead generator. And you can basically send people, it's like you can send, or maybe you take all 10 interviews and you just take a certain section of each one of these interviews and you create smaller little audios or whatever to go with this, or you send out the text, just the transcriptions or something, and then you say basically to get this, you go here and you can get all of the interviews. They're all live. You can get the whole entire series, and not just the first one, but you get the whole entire series, or not just the text. You're going to get the live interview itself with the audio, or however you want to do it. Again, you can break them apart, drip feed them into membership sites. Another moneymaker, use them as a bonus for better conversions. Let's say that you bought private label rights to a great big online course, but it had like several different modules or whatever with it that you could, break apart. You could go do an interview, and you can with experts on each one of the topics that course has, and you could add more value to that product as a bonus offer. So basically say, I've got this series of interviews that I would like to add to this product right now. It's going to help you get better conversion. So basically giving a bonus offer when you're promoting the product that you have, that you can use these to go along with it. Maybe you can take a big course and break it down and add more value and break it down into separate courses and add more value by adding different interviews to those each separate courses. A moneymaker used for list building, back end with product recommendations. So basically you give away the interviews. I had a person approach me one time and said, I've got these interviews, what is the best way I could use them? And I gave them an answer they were not expecting, and they were not even really wanting to hear at that point. And I did it for a really specific reason. One of the reasons is that I did not believe that this person had a back-end strategy even in place. I could tell by what they were wanting to know. They want to know, well, what price point would you do with this? I want to make some money with this and everything else. Just by the way they were going, I came back at the person. I was like, well, those are some really good experts that you interviewed. I know you got some good content. This is what I would do, because you got some tremendous value right there. You could sell that for a lot of money, but this is what I would do if I were you. I'd give it away. They looked at me and they basically walked away from me, and I was like, wait a minute, I want to explain myself. And they're like, I can't afford to give this away. I'm like, yes, you can afford to give this away. You've got a lot of value here. This is what I want you to do. I says, because I don't believe that you even thought about your back-end strategy, because what are you going to send them to next? Where are they going next after this interview? Well, I don't have that thought out yet. Exactly, and that's why you don't want to give this away, because you want to make money with it. Well, think of it this way, sending them to these interviews for free. Basically where they're getting all of these interviews, some great content. They're going to learn a ton from these things. But also in these interviews, they're set up for you. They've maybe got some product recommendations in them. Maybe you've talked about Aweber or HostGator or something like that, and you sent them through an affiliate link to go check it out. You've got them monetized that way. But also once they get it, they get a hold of this, they've signed up to your squeeze page, you've got your follow-up messages where you're going to be recommending other products that are related to this. So you've got a back-end market strategy in place where you're going to make some real good money. So you use them to give them away, and then your back-end strategy takes over for the money maker. Live interview, charge attendees to attend the call. So maybe you get something like Instant Teleseminar or GoToWebinar if you're going to be using PowerPoints or some presentations or something like that during the interview. And that's an excellent way to do an interview, by the way, is when the person at your interview can basically has maybe it's got a PowerPoint that can go along with it. So maybe you've kind of went through the interview and kind of timed it to go along with your PowerPoint. But also you can basically charge people to attend it. So you basically have, if you don't have a list, you have the one that's interviewing, send them to the list through an affiliate link that you've got them set up with. And at the end of it, say, thanks for attending. If you would like these calls, basically we would like to get them in your hands, and you can get them for a very minimal fee, for maybe $10 a call or $37 for the whole set, or whatever that you're going to be doing or whatever. So basically they show up and you charge them for the recordings afterwards, or you charge them to show up to the call period, where it's like, I'm going to be interviewing so-and-so, and this works really good when you got somebody that's really seen with a lot of star power, and you're saying, I'm doing an interview with so-and-so, this is going to be some amazing content, these are the benefits you're going to receive, and you can get on this call right now. I want people that are really mean business to get on this call. You can get on there right now for $9.97 or $37 to attend this call, and that's all it is, and make money that way. Here's the expert interview product launch process to make money. Find and research your niche, get your domain name and hosting, and we're not going to go into all of this right now because that's later. Find 5 to 10 experts, get your questions, do the interviews. Now you've got all of these interviews in place. Get your sales copy and graphics, set up a squeeze page and your free offer. Set up your autoresponder follow-up messages that are going to be recommending other products to go along with this and building relationships. Create a one-time offer. And a good way to do this is to go back to the experts that you just interviewed and say, hey, I know you're the expert in this niche. What kind of products do you have that you would be willing to put together with the rest of them as a one-time offer, because what's going to happen is they're going to have an affiliate link through all of this, so you're going to be selling their products and stuff, and as your bonus offers. A lot of times they'll use them as bonuses or one-time offers. Set this all up on ClickBank or PayPal, so you're going to use them for your payment system. It's really simple to do. Pre-launch, ask your original experts to promote for you. You're getting their name out there more. Remember that. They have the list. You've done your research. They're the expert. You know they've got a list. That's why it's important that they've got a list. And what you're going to do is have them, the experts that you did the interview with, that's why it's important to get as many as possible, 5 to 10 would be a good number, and have them launch at the exact same time. So you're doing basically a small product launch right here. Something to remember, you do not have to be the expert on the topic of your interview. Your job is to get the valuable information out of the expert. Your interview is not only a learning tool for the listener, but also for yourself. And the more interviews that you do, the more comfortable you will become. A lot of people have a lot of fears about doing an interview. You do not need to fear them. You do not need to fear the experts that you're interviewing. Just do them.